Thanks to the support as a channel member, Grant Charman. Well, folks, we may be witnessing the end of Tom Best as a Wembley player. We've promised him some more football. He's got a month. We are going to start him for a month. If he recaptures his old form, then we'll continue building the team around him. But if he fails this time, I think we just have to move on from him and all be very sad about it. Hello and welcome to part 61 of Wembley to Wembley. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have two games for you in the league. We're away against Chippenham. We're at home against Billericay. And since you were last with me, this is what's gone on. We've changed the system to a 4-3-3 and it has kind of turned things around. I mean, that was a time of real misery when we were just losing every game, trotting out that 4-4-2. We've switched round to a new system for us, a 4-3-3, and as you can see, it's improved. It's still not brilliant, but it is improved. We've only lost one of our last 6 in the league. We've won 3 of them, and we are starting to stop the rot a little bit. We'd actually drifted dangerously close to our relegation battle, but we have moved ourselves back up towards mid-table, where I think that's probably where we're supposed to be this season. But we have got a Tom Best problem. I mean, if we have a look at Tom Best, as you can see, we've not really used him a huge amount, even after moving back to a system that should suit him better, theoretically, playing as the attacking midfielder. I don't know why it's showing him as playing as a winger. We have him as playing as an inside forward in that role. But yeah, even doing this, he's not really recapturing the old form. He did grab a goal there, but we're not seeing the Tom Best we know and love. I mean, he's got 9 goal contributions this year in 17 matches. He's still pretty good, but we're judging him by his own very high standards, and we need to drag him back up to that level somehow. As you can see as well by how small our squad is, we have had a number of our loan players recalled also, down to just the 3 of them in Sebastião, Odoi and Hill. Hill presumably will be recalled as well if we're playing Best for a month, because we can't really play them in the same team. We've also signed a new player. Sam Yearwood has been brought in basically to be the holding midfielder in the 4-3-3 because we didn't have one. So he's come in to do that role. But this is the team. It's not ideal. It does solve, I guess, a couple of problems. Sam Brown finally getting to play at centre-back. He is 6'4" after all, and we've forever played him as basically our backup right-back. But with the need for extra midfielders, we've had to move Larson forward into a central midfield role, which he's quite capable of playing, which means Brown comes in at centre-back behind him. We don't have much in the way of alternative options. If you look at what we've actually got around the squad as players, the two players who aren't in the matchday squad today are both goalkeepers, and then we've got a greyed out defender who's been put in there. So all 16 players, or certainly all 15 outfield players we've got at the club currently are involved in today's matchday squad. So there is definitely an argument that we need to bring in some new players. We've got a little bit of spare money to be able to do it, and as usual, we are. I thought we were under threat of a takeover. Interesting. That must have fallen through. Either way, finances are still an absolute mess, so we're going to need a takeover at some point just to save us from the pickle we've got ourselves into once again. But we need players. It is January. Not that it makes much of a difference at this level, because obviously there's no transfer windows at this level, but goodness me, do we need players? And we are going to be trying to bring some in, but it's quite difficult to convince anyone to arrive, because, you know, we can't offer him any kind of sensible money. So this is the team. Sebastião in goal, a back four of Machiavelli, Brown, Young and Odoi. Yearwood at the base of the midfield with Larson and Scowen ahead of him. Fairley on the left, Best on the right, Roberts up front. The other disadvantage of this system is obviously Laycock and Camper have been, were certainly 2 key players last year. Camper hasn't really done it at this level, which is a huge disappointment. But Laycock had actually started to turn in some decent performances playing alongside Roberts, but we can't fit them both in. So, yeah, that's not ideal. I'd quite like to swing back round to a 2-striker system, really, because we've got 3 good strikers at the club, plus Best, who lots of you have been trying to convince me for a long time should be playing as a striker as well, and it would be a way to play him and Hill in the same team. Not that it ever really worked. We tried it earlier in the year and it didn't really work, but a 2-striker system would be ideal. I am tempted to go to a 4-2-4, but we just don't have enough defensive midfielders. Larson is one of those frustrating football manager players who's natural at centre-back, accomplished at central midfield, can't play defensive midfield. Scowen can't play there either. So we'd have to bring players in. We need more defensive midfielders to be able to switch to the FM24 version of a 4-2-4. I'm certainly not brave enough to play a 4-2-4 with 2 central midfielders in. Fairly out of position on the left wing as well. Just something we're going to have to put up with. We don't have enough players. Scowen could go out there. He's accomplished in that role. But again, we don't have enough central midfielders to be able to do it. So we are pretty makeshift at the moment. But as form has shown, even with being pretty makeshift, we are dragging ourselves back up to the mid-table of the league. So it's not all bad. I wonder, I mean, I like to show off when the camera's on. I'm now thinking, do we put Fairley back there and put Scowen further forward and play that lopsided system again that we played a little bit earlier in the year? I noticed the comment section loved it, but if you actually look at the schedule, we didn't love it, but we could do something like, can Scowen... See, Scowen can't play as an attacking midfielder in the centre. It's frustrating on all levels. I mean, ideally, we do something like that. And that's probably quite good. But then Scowen's playing out of position. Should we try that for the second half? What's the worst that could happen, eh? It's like it's FM17 again, doing tactics like this. I still remember, I definitely did a save where I had a system that looked very similar to that one and was pretty successful. But I don't know if this is the system for the National League South. But, you know, we'll see, I guess. Scowen playing in that more attacking position, finds Machiavelli, and now Brown forward to Scowen again, who's looking for options ahead of him. I guess one thing we could do with this kind of lineup is bring a second striker and not play Scowen in that role. We could bring in a second striker, play Fairley a little bit deeper, and that might allow us to get away with, my word, that's poor from them. that might allow us to get away with just the one defensive midfielder. So we could potentially do that. We might try that in a minute and just forever be fiddling, trying to get this team firing at this level. Remember, it's a league we're supposed to get relegated from. That was a lovely deep cross, but unfortunately couldn't get ourselves properly under it. And now Fairley from range can't play as a winger. Put him in midfield though. Look at him go. That is a wonderful goal on his weak foot as well, from a long, long way out. And that puts us 1-0 up. That's beautiful stuff. Fairley picking the ball up, back to goal, just goes the long way round 2 players, finds himself a little bit of a spot and scores an absolute screamer. 1-0 to Wembley, and that is lovely old stuff. And that puts us back into the top half of the table for the first time in a long, long while. We're realistically not in any kind of playoff race this year. We're not even really thinking about it. But it is nice to be back in the top half of the table, albeit potentially quite briefly. Tom Best. It's worrying, boys and girls. I just think he's done. I think Tom Best is done. And I'm as sad about it as you are. I want him to be great. He's under contract for another year and a half, so we can't just bin him off. He's going to be around and about the place unless someone makes an offer for him. But our all-time best player, you would argue at this point, certainly player of the series so far, all-time top scorer, and just can't make the step up to the National League South, which is very, very troubling. Fairley plays it into Scowen, who's burst out of that attacking midfield position and has scored, and it's 2-0. And it's a 6th goal of the season for Scowen, and that should be enough. Maybe that is his role. Scowen's one of those players who we struggle to fit him in, not because he's not good enough, but because it's not clear what his best position is. He can play on either wing, he can play centre mid, he can play defensive midfield. Apparently he can play here as well. He can probably play as striker. Just a handy utility player, which when you're on a squad of 15 outfield players, it's certainly handy to have. He'll play a lot of football for us. But maybe that's his role. Maybe we need to get him training there. Right. We've not got many options on the bench. We've got a right back, a left back, and another striker. I'm thinking we take off Larson, bring on Laycock, and just try this. Stick them 2 up front together like it's last year again. You are just going to have to be something like that in there. And in fact, probably even that's even more sensible. Do that role. And let's see if we can play Camper and Laycock together again. Wouldn't that be a thing? I mean, Camper's come on similar to what we've had with Best. Camper's come on and not really done anything, but this is potentially a way to get 2 strikers together up front. It gets Laycock back in the team, and Laycock, I think has our highest average rating of any player so far this season. He's not quite scored as many goals as Roberts, but his average rating is a little bit higher. So there is an argument for pushing Laycock back in, but none of the strikers have covered themselves in glory this year. But it doesn't matter when we win football matches. And that's exactly what we've just done. We are up to 11th in the league, 10 points behind Billericay. We play next. We're not in a playoff hunt unless we beat Billericay, because then we'll have a game in hand on them and only be 7 points behind. And it becomes a little more possible then. But that is a good result. We give that a thumbs up. Right, we're starting with the same 11 as the last match, because let's face it, we don't have many options to change it up. So Fairley's still going to start officially out of position. He is training to play in the winger position, so it will make him learn to play the role quicker the more we train him and then play him there. So certainly starting games there makes sense. I have never done enough experimentation to work out if changing in mid-match is something that will hamstring that process. But I imagine as the game goes on, we'll drop him back into midfield the way we do most matches. But we always start him up there in the hopes that eventually he'll become accomplished playing there and would actually be able to play well there at some point. Wouldn't that be a lovely novelty? But as it is, my assistant manager constantly telling me that he'd benefit from playing in a more familiar position. He's a left midfielder. He can play left wing. Please, if you do nothing else for FM25 Sports Interactive, please fix this. Oh, it's so silly. Goodness me. It's still 0-0. Nothing very much is happening. I mean, I guess in context, we're at home against a team who are way above us in the league, much better team than us, looking to actually get into a promotion fight. We'd be happy with just not losing. It's kind of what we've grown accustomed to. Should we do the halftime switch? Because we weren't really creating anything before, so let's do the halftime switch. Switch them around to this. This is what we did in the last match, wasn't it? And this seemed to work quite well. So we'll get Scowen involved a little bit further forward. We'll let Fairley drop back into his natural position. Tom Best, another absolutely anonymous performance from him. It's becoming more and more frustrating. I don't know what to do about Tom Best other than just give up on him. And I read the comments on Friday. I saw the uproar that we weren't using him enough, but what do you do with him? How can we use him in these circumstances? Right, Camper's coming on, Hill's coming on. Laycock will come on in a minute as well for either Larson or Brown or Scowen, and we'll go to two up top. We might as well, but have we even had a highlight in this match? This is a fascinating demonstration of very little happening on a football pitch. Right, Scowen's tired, Machiavelli's tired, Yearwood's tired as well. We're going to take off Scowen though, bring on Laycock, and hope that with a couple of minutes to go, we can maybe conjure something up with two strikers and two proper wingers. This is as close to a 4-2-4 as we've been in quite some time. Let's offer some more encouragement and hope we can get a highlight. I don't know that I've ever had a game of FM with no highlights at all, and today's not going to be there. It's taken to the 91st minute, but we have got a highlight. And unfortunately, it is Billericay who've got the ball, and this probably isn't going to end very well for us, because if this is the only highlight of the game, I imagine they're going to score from it and make me very sad. Machiavelli hacking it clear, but it doesn't get properly clear, and it is Billericay just camped out on the edge of our area now. We need someone to get a foot on this and get the ball clear, and it's so frustrating. I mean, we knew it was happening, didn't we? The moment the first highlight of the game appeared in the 91st minute, I think we all knew what was going to happen. And we just don't have time to do anything about it. We're going to demand more. We've gone very attacking. Should we have changed to two strikers? Probably not, but it's now the 96th minute, and this is the first time we've had the football in a highlight. Fairley gives the ball away. That was the best moment a Wembley player had on the ball in the entire match, if the highlights are anything to go by. I'm not alarmed. We won one. We were happy going into this episode. We'd have been happy with 3 points. So remember when we couldn't win away? We won an away game. So, there is progress being made. We're mid-table again, and it's just going to be a mid-table season. That's fine. What we need now is a rich owner to come in, clear our debts, and allow us to be a little bit more competitive with the signings. Because the big problem I'm having, and the reason our squad is so small, is every time we identify a player who's better than what we've got, they don't want to sign for us. And everyone who does want to sign for us, or that we can afford, are worse than what we've already got. And there's just no point filling the squad up with those kind of players. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a frustrating second half of the season. Seems harsh to criticise Laycock's form when he's not really getting the chance to play, but I trust my backroom staff. And we end the episode in the top half of the table, with a game in hand as well. I guess we can't really complain. I won't put you through too many more episodes this season. We might just go all the way through to the end from here if it looks like it's going to be a nothing mid-table year. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.